All right, guys, you are listening to K-Talk Radio 1640 AM. This is the show, Utah Home Sweet Home. I am your host, Yoshi Shiraki. We've got our very special guest, Dakota Worrell, talking about apartment building investing today. And now we are going to dive into, we just heard a very intense nightmare story. I was stressed as you were telling the story. Glad to hear the guy's in prison. Yeah. But now we're going to move on to due diligence. And due diligence, for those of you who are not familiar with that term, it's basically the work that you put in pre-purchasing a property. You typically have a property under contract, and now you're just dotting your I's, crossing your T's, making sure it's something you actually want to buy, and if it's not, then you can cancel your contract accordingly to the contract, of course. But during this due diligence phase usually is the time that you're going to do this work to confirm you want it, and if you don't, you cancel. If you do, you progress forward. So, Dakota, can you dive into these step-by-steps of due diligence, please?
Yeah, well, just some things that I've learned over the years, and a lot of times things I hear people say that I kind of interject, and I'm like, hey, you might be thinking about that wrong. You know, like, for example, one of the first things that I see, not actually with new investors. New investors are better at this. It's with experienced investors that I see them make this mistake, is that I will always hire an inspector. Right? You hear about home inspections for smaller, right? Yep. But even for larger commercial residential projects, I'll always hire an inspector. And I think this is a trap people fall into, because as we get experience, and especially as we do rehabs and we become more handy and we have our crews and stuff, we get this mentality of basically we get paid to fix problems and we're confident that we can fix any problem. Right?
Yeah.
And that's true. I'm sure that they can fix any problem, but can you afford to fix every problem? Right? So a lot of times they get so cocky that they think that they can do a quick walkthrough themselves, identify all the problems, and they don't spend the $400 to $1,500 to have an inspector go through it. And that's just overconfidence, and unfortunately it's a hard lesson everybody needs to learn. But still to this day I hire an inspector, and here's what I think people miss. There's few things that provide as high of a return on investment as the money you spend on an inspector. Because I have in dozens and dozens of transactions never ever once had the inspector not pay for his fee. Right. And oftentimes he's paying multiples. So if I pay that inspector, this is an example, right? Just on the Paramount, the 24-unit complex that I bought last year. I paid an inspector, cost me $800 to go run through the building. Using what he found, I got a $35,000 cash concession to me.
Oh, nice.
So what's the ROI on that?
Yeah, very good.
Right? Yeah, it's always worth it. And almost every seller expects to give you something in terms of concessions. So so just do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And contact your local building official. After coming out of that nightmare story, when I started buying heavily in some of the Idaho markets, before I bought anything there, the first thing I did was make an appointment to go sit down to the building department and the planning and zoning department and basically say, what's your master plan as a city? What's your opinion on what I want to do? Are you guys going to be happy to see this or unhappy to see this?
That's smart.
Because I can't go through this again.
Right.
And, in that particular city where I'm investing, they're pretty much like, any improvement is a good improvement.
Oh, good.
And they stay out of the way. And I can tell you that's an incredibly different experience than the one that I experienced on this last property. And I think people underestimate how much easier it is to make money and profit when the city is on board with your plans.
Oh, yeah.
Right? When they're not just going to allow you to do it, but they want to encourage you to do it.
Right.
Then all those different conversations about, hey, how can we make this easier for you? How can we subsidize this? I've talked to them. They've been willing to increase density for me.
Wow.
They're very willing to trade. And when you get to negotiate with a city, I think that's really where you start to get to the next level of investing, where you're making, where even making $100,000 seems to look small.
Yeah.
So, and this is, so I've always liked to talk way more about mistakes than I like to talk about making money. Because to me, making money has never changed. Buy low, sell high. hold on to property.
Right.
It's not hard, and I think that people like to talk about it way too much. I think that talking about losing money and making mistakes is way more valuable.
Yes.
Because making money is easy, holding on to it's hard.
Right, right.
And this is, so I'll share something that, I just actually found out yesterday.
Oh.
Is opportunity zones, right? Have you heard this buzzword about you invest in an opportunity zone, 5 year you get a step up, 7 year you get a step up, in 10 years you're tax free no matter how much money you make, right?
Right.
That's a great opportunity.
Right.
So I bought a property in an opportunity zone.
Oh, nice.
But guess what?
What?
I didn't call my CPA or attorney, which I'm kicking myself because I just told you that I learned this lesson to call your attorney, years ago, and then I didn't follow it again myself, and here I am, right? You have to set up a qualified opportunity fund before you purchase the property, or it doesn't get the benefits.
Oh no!
Right. So due diligence is call your attorney, call your CPA first, and just say, "Look, this is what I'm looking at doing.
Yeah.
Do you see any red flags here?
Yeah.
Because worst comes to worst, it's a 30-minute conversation that you spend $100 on.
Yep.
Best comes to best, it's a 2-hour conversation that you spend, $1,000 on, but you save yourself $100,000.
Yes.
So I cannot state that enough. Is a good CPA, which is admittedly a needle in a haystack.
Right.
And a good attorney.
Yeah.
They pay for themselves. They're worth every dollar, truly.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I would suggest that I think a lot of people skip is when they're buying multi-units, they just assume that since this building looks like a 4-plex or looks like a 5-plex or whatever, that's what it was built to be and that's what it's intended to be, and how could it be anything else, right?
Right.
But not true.
Yes.
Zoning changes over time, permits get lost, records get lost. So, always go and get a rebuild letter.
Yep.
Right? Basically a letter from the city saying they acknowledge this building is, even if the zoning is currently single family, they acknowledge that this building is a 4-plex, will allow it to continue to be a 4-plex, and most importantly, say that if it burns down or something happens to it, that they're going to allow you to rebuild it. Because what happens when you buy a building that's worth $400,000 as a 4-plex, but the city doesn't recognize it that way, and now you have a 4-plex that you can only use as a single-family home, and you're spending money trying to fight through the grandfathering status, or it burns down, and either insurance won't cover it, or they won't let you rebuild it, so you're upside down. It's a huge pain, and it's a 20-minute conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
super smart.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I've learned along the lines. Scoping sewers.
Yep.
Most inspectors won't do it.
Yep.
Right? And that's fine. If your inspector won't do it, call a plumber that will.
Yeah.
Because sewer lines are oftentimes not covered by the insurance.
Yeah.
And when they go wrong and they rupture, it's not just the cost of replacing a sewer line, right? Which I think is on average going to run you $12 to $15,000 out of pocket.
Yes.
It's the damage done to your units when this stuff backs up, you've got sewage, you're doing remediation, your tenants are moving out, that's hotel money, that's vacancy, that's a lot of problems, right? So I think that people really try to skimp and save money on due diligence when it's the opposite. You should be dumping money into due diligence because the ROI is so high and money that you don't have to spend.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Becoming a millionaire is all about good offense.
Yes.
Staying a millionaire or becoming a multi-millionaire is all about good defense.
Right.
Because your systems get automated along the way.
Right.
I
love that.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of lessons when it comes to due diligence about how I should be spending my time and I say write your due diligence checklist down.
Yes.
And never stray from it.
Smart.
And follow the rules. You have to create rules to protect yourself from yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about being an investor and a self-employed individual, the only one that's really going to take your business down is you.
Right.
And young entrepreneurs will 9 times out of 10 always struggle with ego suspension.
Yes.
And it's how could they not, right? When you're young and you're making huge amounts of money, you tend to think that you're doing something that's never been done before, and you start to discount all the advice from those who have come before you, and that's fatal.
Absolutely. I have a buddy out of Chicago. He lives in Chicago. He purchased, well, he didn't purchase. He was actually under contract on a 230 unit apartment building. He had spent 60 grand in due diligence and walked away from the contract because all that due diligence told him he'd lose more if he bought it. It was like, you know, like you said, you need to spend more to discover those potential nightmare that could come up.
Right. Don't risk 1 million trying to save the last million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And your friend sounds like he was very disciplined.
Yeah.